This is Julianne Condia, host of Rewritten. Thank you so much for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Rachel Mullins, host of #NoFilterFriday here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my new show, #NoFilterFriday, where we talk about all of the sexual misconduct allegations swirling around Hollywood. A new show drops every Friday at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of #NoFilterFriday. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Welcome back to Crowned and Dangerous. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Jess.
And we are here to dish all of the pageant dirt today on this fine October day.
We're ready to roll. If you haven't checked out our latest podcast, we just did our podcast about pageant stereotypes. So if you haven't listened to it, you can find it literally on any place that you can listen to podcasts. And you can follow along on all our old podcasts back there, and also check us out on Facebook and Instagram and all that jazz. We'll give the details on that at the end.
Thank you to everybody who has been listening so far. It's been quite the month, and it's been pretty cool to see that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we actually just got some feedback from our great network, Public House Media, that Crowned and Dangerous was in the top 5 most listened podcasts for the network in the month of September. So that was super cool. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And I'll give a little...
Oh,
go ahead,
take it away, Jess.
This has been a mess of a day. I just want to say that first of all, because
it's been crazy.
I've been rushing home. Like, Maddie and I are both super busy right now, and turned out that the power was out at my house. So I'm like, oh, crap, like, how are we going to record this podcast? We're making it work. Anyway, I wanted to give a little reminder that we are bi-weekly. So the first few episodes that we had happened to be weekly just because we had our little special edition Miss America podcast, but we are bi-weekly, so you can hear from us every other Thursday. So...
And Jess, in past episodes, has told people to reach out and share your questions or stories with us. So we're actually going to start this episode answering those questions. And it's been pretty cool to see the interaction. So do you want to start, Jess, or should I start with the first one?
You can start with the first one.
All right. This question is, it says pageant budgets. How much money do girls spend competing?
I think it varies. At first, like, during my first pageant, I literally just borrowed everything. I mean, I used all the makeup that I already had at home. I borrowed a bunch of wardrobe. I had a swimsuit that I already used, and I literally just bought one pair of nude shoes to wear through the whole thing, and that was it. So I think budget varies depending on the girl and what kind of style you're looking for, especially with, wardrobe and competition wear. But as I've gone on to continue, I think I've found some people who are willing to contribute financially. So, like, I found sponsors and stuff that can help me with wardrobe. So it honestly varies, and I don't know if I can think of a number.
Right. Being 100% honest, I don't know if people actually ever break even, though, with what they spend versus what they get back in scholarship. Like, being completely real, I don't know if that actually happens.
For sure.
Because, you think of the typical evening gown, swimsuit, whatever, and if you're going custom with evening gowns, those are thousands of dollars. So good swimsuits, like pageant swimsuits, can be a couple $100s, talent costumes, rhinestoning. Plus, you have to think of the makeup, the eyelashes, the traveling, the gas money you use, the hotels your family uses to stay at to go watch you compete at state. It's not cheap, and it's great to get those scholarships back at least. But, I don't know. I someday want to try and calculate to see if I, made more or if I took a loss.
I know. I would love to find that out. And honestly, I think...
Do I want to know, though?
I know. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to know how much money I've spent, even on just small trips that I've taken to just pick something up that I might need. And like butt glue is like $5. Like how much of that have I bought before?
Right. And like new outfits for appearances, that would always be my excuse. I'm like, well, I need it for this appearance or I need it for this event, which I do miss already. I miss not being like justifiable why I need something new. So that
now I just say, oh, I could use this for work.
Right. So yeah. Thank you, Nurse Rachel, for that question. That's actually, we should continue that on another episode and like do a budget
I'd be curious. I'd be curious. Yeah. Like, you know, how much we've spent, because I honestly don't know. I'd be interested to see how much, but I think it really varies on, you know, what kind of wardrobe you would like.
Borrow stuff now.
For sure. I've definitely borrowed wardrobe in the past, and I know a lot of girls do, even at state. I mean, girls have borrowed each other's gowns. I mean, Courtney Pilot, Miss Wisconsin 2016, she borrowed another girl's evening gown for the final night, and she ended up winning the whole thing. So
it's pretty wild. And then, our next question.
Sorry, I'm just speeding through things. I feel like I just need to take a minute to breathe. But next question says, are you planning on continuing to compete within the Miss America organization in the future?
Shout out Lizzie Davis. I love you.
Yes.
Me, no.
This Maddie, definitely not. I know you've decided that, and oh my god, I'm dropping things.
I don't know though, like talent 50% and like onstage interview, private interview, onstage question. Ugh, I just don't like.
Yeah, I've thought about it for a while, and even during my most recent year as a title holder, I've just kind of been burnt out, I guess. And with the changes that are going on, I don't feel as passionate as I have been before. I'm still very passionate about my platform, and I think a lot of girls are, even if they are not continuing. And this episode, you'll find, is actually about promoting your passion, and we'll chat a little bit about platforms with our special guest in a little bit. But I don't plan on competing again. I really don't see it happening in my future. I mean, I still have a few more years of eligibility, so maybe my mind will change. But right now, I would much rather be kind of behind the scenes and volunteering at local pageants and, you know, doing what I can in that way. But competing, I don't see it happening for me right now.
I think it's one of those things that if you stop, it's really hard to go back. And then I think if you go back and it still doesn't happen, it'll just make it 10 times worse than the how many years before it. Like,
sure.
I flash forward looking. Like, if I decide to compete in 2 years again, I have to, like, redo basically everything. The styles have probably changed. A lot of things will probably have changed by then. Then what if you go into, like, your first local or whatever and you just tank or something? You know, like, what is that going to do? Are you going to be even more discouraged? I just think it's one of those things that when you're ready to move on, it's just, like, for me personally, I'm ready to move on with everything. It's just, and like we've said on previous episodes, it's not the same organization as what we grew up in, we fell in love with.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
I feel that way too. I was really burnt out after Miss Wisconsin this year, and after doing the National Sweetheart pageant, I just feel so fulfilled. Like everything that I really wanted to do, I have done, and now it's just time to move on to a different chapter, and I'm perfectly content with that. But obviously still supporting all the girls who are still continuing, because it's exciting and it's fun to watch.
I'm all for other people doing it. Just, I don't know.
Not me.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be super fun to try USA.
Ooh, I know.
I just love the styling of Miss USA. Like, I think it fits me a lot better than Miss America does. But at the same time, that's also a lot of money, and that's something I just don't think I want to, like, get myself back into. But I think that would be pretty cool.
Still in question.
Oh, yeah. Then we have the next one is from Maddie Sunshine Madison. She's cool. We love her. Weirdest interview questions. I can tell you right now, mine was my first year at state, and I got asked if I had a boyfriend. And I just thought that was the weirdest thing to be asked in a state interview.
Yeah.
And I said no, and then he actually said a really nice compliment. He's like, oh, well, oh, crap, what did he... I know it was nice, but now I can't really remember. I think it was something along the lines of, oh, I just can't understand why you're just so sweet. Because I was also, like, really quiet and shy and just, like...
Oh, yeah.
Very, like, you know, polite and, you know, said what you needed to say in those situations. And now he'd probably be like, oh, my goodness, girl. But
he's like, okay, I understand why you're single now.
Well, it was the last question too of my interview at State, and I was just like, what? I did not know they would ask those sort of things. But
how weird.
I mean, you're not supposed to, but I think, a lot of people do. But
true.
What about you? Anything?
I think I talked about one really threw me off in a previous episode about female genital mutilation in developing countries. Mm-hmm. That was a very strange question that I got. But also, this was actually funny because it's not necessarily a weird question, but one that I've never gotten before. And this was actually one of my questions at the National Sweetheart Pageant. And it was, if you had a podcast that was like representative of your life or your hobbies, what would you call it and why? And I was like, fun fact, actually, I do have a podcast.
I love that.
So it wasn't necessarily a weird interview question, but it was one that I never got before. And I don't know, I really want to, do an episode all about interview prep and preparing for interviews, whether that be like a job interview or a pageant interview. So we can kind of hash out some strange questions or unexpected questions that we've got on that episode.
Right on. Well, thank you to those people who send in questions. Please send in more. We love them. These. They're very fun and they add something fun to the show. Mm-hmm. I mean, because our show's obviously so dull and boring, but no, honestly, we really love answering those questions. And like I said, I really want to expand more on that pageant budget one. I think that would be really fun to do an episode on that and just talk about that. So thank you for the inspiration, because that also helps us.
Yes, it does. So if you want to send us any stories or questions that you want us to answer, please feel free to reach out to us at crownedanddangerouspodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on our social media on Facebook or Instagram at Crowned and Dangerous. Alrighty. So let's move on to our next little part. So like I said, we want to do this podcast all about promoting your passion, and we'll kind of discuss platforms and how you can maybe explore different passions and find a platform that you really enjoy, and how you can continue to develop that. So we're going to just take a little bit of a break, and we will be back with our very special guest that I will introduce in a moment. Susan Fochs, our very special guest. She was Miss Door County 2017, Miss Badgerland 2018, the recipient of copious amounts of community service awards. And she is the founder, president, and CEO of Operation Not Alone. So hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My goodness.
Oh, I'm just stoked that you agreed to this because, oh gosh, okay, first of all, you're one of everybody's favorite human beings, so I'm just glad. I'm just glad that you just hopped on to kind of share your story. Like I said earlier, we're just kind of talking about platform stuff and finding a passion and promoting that, and you're just a great example of that, and everybody knows it.
Sweet.
Oh gosh. Well, most people might not know that Susan and I have a very special bond because we were roommates this year at our state pageant.
Yes, we were.
Which is quite the adventure. Honestly. Oh, just the best. So I want to start off, just tell us about yourself, where you're from, your background, things that you enjoy, ideal perfect date,
Okay.
Those kinds of things.
That's a lot
Tell
of
us about you.
Things to say. So, okay, well, my name is Susan. I am originally from Door County, Wisconsin. Like Jess said, I was Miss Door County. I'm from the northern tip of the peninsula. I spent my whole life up there going to school, working at a pizza restaurant, just very casual life things. Went to the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh for college. I majored in human services leadership and business administration, and now I'm currently getting my master's through Northwestern University in public policy and administration. So that has been a lot more textbooks than I ever thought possible.
Seriously, it's just, I mean, basically just a girl boss, to say the least. I mean,
Thank you.
Oh, love it. Okay, so I want to just kind of, so you have all these really great things that you're pursuing, even now, but tell me where it all began in terms of your Miss America experience. Like, when did you get started? When did you kind of learn of MAO? And how did you get rolling?
Sure. So I think something maybe similar for some people, but also very foreign to other women who are competing. My local title of Miss Starr County is such a big deal in our community. Like, Miss Starr County is huge. And especially when I was younger, Miss Starr County would always have 12 to 15 contestants. There was so much going on, and she's such a celebrated part of the community. And so, but my entire life, I was like, I could never do that. I could never be that.
Right.
No, truly. And then I think it was my junior going into my senior year, I had a friend kind of convince me just to try it. And her main pitch to me was, honestly, even if you fall on your face and you become last place, you'll still earn scholarship money. And since I was fully paying for college myself, I was like, okay, well, I'm cool with scholarship money.
Right. No kidding.
Really funny story, though. I went home when I finally decided it, and I told my mom I wanted to run for Miss Starr County. And I'm not kidding. She full on laughed at me and said, but Susan, you don't have a talent.
Oh
and I said,
my God.
Learn a talent, which is how I started Irish dancing, which is a whole weird story in itself. But I said, I'm going to learn a talent because I want to become Miss Starr County so badly. So that's how that kind of started, and went through that whole process. Our director at the time, Shirley, owned a bridal shop downtown. So I spent probably an obsessive amount of weeks on my application, and finally walked into her bridal shop and turned it in. And she was so excited. She gets so excited for all the contestants, and gave me a big hug and was like, you're a part of the Miss Starr County family now. And I was like, oh, that's a big thing. And I had no idea the journey that would be in store for me 8 years later, but here we are.
Okay, so I kind of want to transition a little bit and talk about your platform. And, because a platform is it's so important in the Miss America program. And, it's really important to kind of put your passion into an action, and you've done that. So, how did you decide on your platform? What is your platform? Explain the mission. Go for it.
Sure. So again, Miss Door County is such a large part of our community, and she's such a large figure. And so our preparations were very serious as well. And at that time too, I was competing for Miss Door County 2012, which is right when Laura Kepler, who was Miss Wisconsin, won Miss America. So there's much more in our faces at that point too, that the way they described a platform was if you win and you do this and you go all the way, you're Miss Starr County, you're Miss Wisconsin, Miss America, your platform has to be something that you want to jump out of bed every single morning and talk about. And you used to talk about it day in and day out. So you better love it. And my mom and I went home, we thought about it forever. And I thought, maybe it would be a general volunteering platform. I wasn't sure what I wanted to talk about every day. And all of a sudden we were driving one day and someone passed us on the highway who had a Marine Corps bumper sticker on. And my mom looked at me and said, we're both idiots. That's what your platform has to be. And she was so right. And that was the knock on our heads that we both needed, that I wanted to talk about my dad, who is a 100% disabled Marine Corps veteran, and very, very proud, very you rah rah. And so I kind of just started from the idea of wanting to help other wounded veterans, not realizing that there was already a nonprofit. It's called the Wounded Warriors Project. So my first platform statement is such a hot mess when I go back and reread it sometimes, because I still have it on my computer. And it had these weird lofty goals that I couldn't fit into a page because I just wanted to help wounded veterans. And it grew from there. I went to college. I was going through sorority recruitment, and I was talking to all these people, and, there's a lot of philanthropy in Greek life. And so I was saying, that this was really my passion. And there was another girl that I met in the sorority I ended up joining, and who just really matched like my passions for it. And now I'm an incoming freshman. I'm a first semester freshman. I'm 18, and this girl's a graduating senior. And one day she just looked at me and she was like, you really could take all of these ideas and turn it into a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
And I said, no, I can't. I'm not a millionaire, and I'm not Oprah, and I'm not like any of these cool, important people. Like who am I to make a nonprofit? Basically was that thought process. And she really pushed me to doing it. She was like, I'll help you. There's this thing called legalzoom.com. And do the paperwork, and she's like, I'll help you with it. And so I said, okay, but like, this is crazy and this isn't gonna work. Cause again, I was like, I'm just this like 18-year-old, like nobody in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Like, who am I to make this thing? And it really has spiraled from there. And one story that I love sharing, because I think, so anyone looking to start a nonprofit or just start anything, to do anything, like you and Gems, like it doesn't have to be a full-on nonprofit, because being a 501c3 is a lot of hoops to jump through. Anyone just wanting to start something, I think we all forget that we really do have the power to do that and to help someone and change someone, even in the smallest way. I think that we all really take that for granted. So Operation Alone really started with the idea of just sending care packages to troops overseas. That's where it started. We now have 5 services, and we can talk about that later. But so I started this so we officially were incorporated January 22nd, 2013. I did not hear back from my first service member until July of that year. And when I did, his letter changed everything. Like, getting his letter back from our very first care package was the game changer for me as a person and for our organization. So we sent off this first care package. And honestly, at that point, I'm still 18. I'm still dumb. And I'm like, this is just a really nice thing to do. Hopefully they like it. I didn't really realize what I was doing. I thought it would just be this really nice to do. And we get this letter back. And again, I'm still a pizza waitress at this point. So it's July, and it's Stark County. So it's busy and it's hot, and I'm sitting outside on my lunch break, and my mom calls me and it's like, oh, you got a letter from Afghanistan today.
What?
And I was like, what? So I made her open and read it to me while I'm on my lunch break, like sitting in the sun somewhere, and I'm bawling my eyes out for like the rest of the day. So she reads me this letter, and it's a 2-page, like handwritten front and back letter from the first service member that we ever sent a care package to. And he goes into great detail, and he explains that he's second lieutenant of his troop. He has, a lot of service members underneath him, and he thought that he had to be, quote, strong for his men, and that he needed to be this pillar of strength and like manly strength. So he didn't want care packages. He didn't want anything from home. He thought like accepting something of that would be like a sign of weakness. And ours was a complete surprise to him, because I knew him through some other like organizations that we were part of. And I had one of his friends track down his address, which was not easy. And what he was describing to me was that he kept that up so well that he hadn't like cut anything from home. And he actually was becoming very depressed and very suicidal because he wasn't hearing from anyone from home. And ours came as such a surprise to him. And it came as a surprise at a time that he was feeling suicidal. And getting our package was the thing that reminded him, like, hey, someone back home cares that I come home and that I'm coming home well. And it ended up being the thing that he said, and it gives me like goosebumps. I have this day. He was like, getting your package. It was the thing that like stopped him from committing suicide. He was like, this literally saved my life, because I remember that someone cared that I came home. And I bawled my eyes out for forever. It's literally still in our office. I framed it. It's on the wall because I look at it all the time. But from that moment, like, I was done for. Like, put a fork in me. I'm done. Like, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And to be fair, I do not think like that what I do like changes lives like day to day. I've never heard anything like that from any other service member ever. So I think it's all fate that was like our first package. And again, I'm like, oh, this is really cute thing to do. And that was the response from the first one. And it changed literally everything. But it also reminded me that even a dumb, like 18-year-old, like doing this thing can do something worthwhile. And I think that we all kind of forget that we have that power to do that for someone. And I'm just thinking it's not going to be a big deal. I had no idea how it would be like received in the community or by people. And from that, like, again, put a fork in me. I'm done. That's what I need to talk about. And so that is really also the big reason why it spiraled out from there. And I think, and you probably can attest to this too, I think it kind of almost becomes like an addictive feeling. Like once you realize that you can help one person, it's like, well, what's really stopping me now? Like from helping another or crossing another threshold or doing something else that you probably thought was a little crazy, because once you accomplish one, you're like, well, like now shoot, I can do more.
Exactly. And oh my goodness, that story gives me goosebumps. And I think that's so special. And it just blows me away. And I completely love what you said about, that's something that just fueled your fire. Like it didn't matter what you had to do, but you felt that you had this responsibility now to make a difference for even more people. And so you discovered at that one moment, you and your mom were driving and you're like, yes, this is it. And so you just kind of got started in terms of, creating care packages and making a difference for service members. But I want to talk a little bit about the process that it took to incorporating ONA and officially making it a nonprofit. Because I know that's very difficult. And like you said, at 18, you're broke. Like you don't have a lot of money. You're not like filthy rich. And a lot of people, I think, feel that you need to be wealthy in order to make a huge difference like that. But tell me a little bit about acquiring nonprofit status for Operation Not Alone.
Sure. And again, at that point, I was still a waitress in the summers. I did not have any like funding to start this. So I think that's an important backstory. You do not need to be Oprah, which I totally thought that you did. Like, and so, when they say it takes a village, my Lord, it takes a village. And I am forever blessed with the village that I have. And again, I think about this a lot. I have no idea like who I would be or where I would be without Miss America, because it, this whole thing started with the idea for Miss Stark County. Now I went to UW Oshkosh. I'm competing for Miss Oshkosh, and something not a lot of people realize about Miss Oshkosh is that it's run and it's backed by the Oshkosh Area Women's Association. So their funding, their full organization, everything is back through there. So there are amazing people from there. I had amazing people. Greek life at UWO was a huge reason why it got the numbers and the backing that it did. We had a lawyer on campus who charged a $5 flat fee to talk to any student about
falling
anything.
Out of budget.
It was a $5 budget. And I mean, I think a lot of kids used it for like traffic tickets and landlords, but I walked in there with $5 and I was like, can you help me incorporate a nonprofit? And he kind of said yes, and he kind of said no. And I went back to the business department at school because, again, I was a business student, and I met with a bunch of professors during office hours saying, I kind of want to do this crazy thing. What do you know? Can you help me? What advice can you give me? Kind of where should I start? And can you point me in the direction of other people to talk to? And that was huge. I also was Irish dancing at Richards School of the Dance in Oshkosh, and everyone there, and especially some people that I danced with and the owners of the dance company, were all very philanthropic people. And little by little, I would just tell people like, I want to do this crazy thing. Will you help me? And people are so much more willing to say yes and do like their little part than I think any of us realize, which is super cool. So lots of people are a part of that. And also through Miss Oshkosh. So I met my best friend, now turned business partner, Mackenzie Lund, who is now with our expansion on Monday that we announced. Like, she is our new vice president and our director of New York operations. I met her through Miss Oshkosh. She was Miss Oshkosh 2015. Like, I literally, like, Miss America is so embedded into my life. I have no idea what I would be doing right now without it, with all the people I've met, like you and just everybody. Like, I don't know where I'd be. So it takes a village. Find your village. They will look not like what you think it'll look like. And honestly, if you start asking little people, like, for like little bits of help here and there, people will most likely say yes. I think we all get really scared to like ask people for help, and we shouldn't be, because people want to help. People want, I think, inherently to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And people want to help other people just intrinsically. And if you start asking, you'll find those people all around.
For sure. I love that. And that's so true, what you said about finding a village, because I know that without the people that I've met through the Miss America organization, my platform wouldn't be a thing. I sought help and guidance from volunteers and from directors. And, it kind of evolved into something amazing. And so I think the support from this program, from volunteers, from directors, is truly what makes it what it is. I'm going to get down to the dirty details about, what does it take to start a nonprofit officially? Like, what's the paperwork? What are the fees? Like, for someone listening who might be considering, starting a nonprofit or getting into that realm, what do they need to know?
Sure. So again, we started using LegalZoom.com, which was really efficient and effective. There was a fee to use that and to kind of use some of their services to incorporate, but they were pretty cheap. So there are a couple of forms that you need to fill out, and we did it through the state of Wisconsin, to become an official 501c3. Now, it's updated from my time when I did it like 6 years ago. Because when I did it, it was a 46-page application without any of the extra like essays and supplemental information that we had to give. So it was like 46, whatever pages. Then all of our extra stuff, you need a minimum founding board of directors of at least 4 people. Every nonprofit's typical founding board is usually just friends and family, which is what we're still rocking on. And it works really well. You need articles of incorporation, bylaws, setting extra policies that you maybe foresee as a potential problem in an organization, or that you just want. Like, we have extra conflict of interest policies. We have extra clauses denoting that, and one of my favorite parts of us is that we will never take compensation. We will never put anything back in our own pockets from our organization, which is one of my favorite kind of pieces to talk about. So I think it's probably a couple hundred pieces of paper when all is said and done. LegalZoom really helped us kind of keep all that straight. The filing fee at that point was about $475 just to file it with the state to go through. Again, there are fees with LegalZoom. If you do not have a $5 lawyer like I did, there will be more there. You have to set up a completely separate bank account, make sure that your banking is fully separated from any of your personal banking, so all of your statements are separate. There are a lot of moving pieces. It's a lot of paperwork, back up all of your work. But again, I think I was really blessed and I was really fortunate that I was a student. And a lot of people wouldn't think of that, because I had all those professors. Like, I had all these people around me in an educational setting that had that education. They wanted to share it. He was going to show up to their office hours. You'll be surprised at what you can learn from your own professors. So honestly, I think being a student was a huge bonus for us.
That's so cool. And I think, a lot of people that might be, internally thinking about, I want to make some sort of difference. I don't know exactly what I want to do. reach out to the people around you because you just never know who might be a resource for you. I always say, with my gems too, we promote volunteering and stuff, which we'll talk about in another episode, but, go to things and see people and meet people and talk about different topics and just explore different avenues because you never know what might pop up right in front of you. And, like you, 6 years later, you're running a nonprofit organization. You really never know. And it's just so crazy. So, I want to transition a little bit because Ona just had a big announcement and I want to chat about what, the core mission of Ona, what you guys are doing every single day. Let's chat about that.
Sure. So we just relaunched everything on Monday, October 1st. Again, myself and Mackenzie Lund, now our vice president and director of New York operations, because we opened up a chapter in Buffalo, New York, which is crazy. So we're now, we've always been a national organization in the sense that our cheer packages are national and our care packages are international, but now we have multiple locations, which is crazy. So Mackenzie and Buffalo is a big thing. Because of her, we have a whole new website. It's www.operationnotalone.net. Yes. And that's fabulous. It's all encompassing of everything I could ever talk about for all of our services. But we added and expanded services. So what we have now is, we've always had care packages. That was always our big center, was big personalized care packages to the active duty service member. Cheer packages are for veterans, which gets sent out annually every year on Veterans Day. A cheer package we will send out all year long once we get a request form, which is on the website. Never Alone nursing home visits are specifically for veterans in a nursing home. We usually visit them over the holidays. The last 3 years it's been on Christmas Eve. We'll go to their nursing home and deliver personalized branch blankets with their names embroidered in the corner. We have the Who is Your Hero program, which is a educational and community service-based program that can be tailored for any classroom setting, corporation, college organization, whatever you want. And the last thing we just launched was a new Girl Scout patch program. So girls, all 1.8 million Girl Scouts nationwide can work towards earning an Ona patch, which is really exciting, and all the programming is available on the website as well. Gosh. So those are our 5 main things we got going on. That is so
special. Oh my gosh. And I love that you're working with Girl Scouts because I love working with Girl Scouts as well. And I just think you guys are doing such great things. So let's my heart is so warm, but let's wrap up a little bit. So where can people find you? Where can people find Ona on social media? And, let's chat about what's next for you personally. Are you busy? What's next for you in the Miss America organization? Let's talk about that.
Sure. So, like I said, we have our new website, operationnotalone.net. is up and running thanks to Mackenzie. So that has every piece of information on it. You can also find us on kind of the main 3 of social media. So Facebook and Instagram, we're Operation Not Alone. For Twitter, we are ONA Cares. You can send us a message, send us an email, send us a DM, whatever you want. Contact us. All of the above. They're all glued to my phone, which is permanently glued to me. So I'll find it eventually. So there's
a whole realm of things to contact you.
A whole host. I've had people who honestly though, in the same hour will use all of those methods to contact me. Again, they'll go straight to my phone. You don't need all of
Seriously though, that's so funny because that's life of a PR professional, because I always have my phone on me, and sometimes it's exhausting because I get notifications from clients and personal stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't get away.
I need to take a social media and just phone detox, and I probably will start doing that at some point because it definitely is a lot. It's exhausting. We don't talk about how exhausting it is, but it's crazy.
So what's up with you? Yeah. What's next? What are you working on right now? And what is in the future of you in relation to the Miss America organization?
I'm just trying to be an adult. I graduated from UW Oshkosh last year, and my first big girl job brought me to Madison, which I love. I'm an account executive at State Point Media, which is a content marketing firm. I'm doing grad school online through Northwestern University to get my master's in public policy, slowly but surely. And sometimes I try and relax. I try and work out. I try and meditate. I don't know.
Try and like get away from all the busy stuff in life and decompress.
Right. So, I mean, between work, ONA, and grad school, that pretty much summed up my whole day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, what's next for you in MAO?
Of course. So I have this last year to compete. This is my last year of eligibility. And, I'm not going to lie when I say that it's kind of been challenging thinking about still competing this last year with just all the changes and all the drama that's been going on, especially with some of the latest announcements, because again, I have no idea who I would be without Miss America, and it has done so much to me and for me in the last 8 years. And I'm so grateful to have one last chance to go for the dream job. But it is becoming a little unrecognizable right now, and it's definitely hard. I mean, I'm still going to go through it full force, but we're in a very tumultuous time right now, and it's a struggle.
It is, and I think a lot of girls are having that same thought. And, Maddie and I have talked about this before on the podcast about, that we think both of us are kind of done competing, but we both would like to stay very heavily involved. And gosh, it's just so difficult because we don't, there's not a whole lot of transparency. We don't really know 100% what's going on or what the future may hold for it. But I'm just so excited that you are choosing to continue, and you're choosing to, continue promoting your platform in this program and making a difference. And I'm just so excited for you.
Thank you. Well, and this is something I know you and I talked about when we had dinner a few weeks ago, but aside from the fact that this organization has done so much for me. I mean, and also too, I graduated with my bachelor's degree debt-free, mostly because of this organization. Like, I owe this organization so much. And I think through the struggles, I still love it so much that my personal belief for it is, if I want to see any positive change out of this organization and wherever it is we're headed, it's something that I feel like I have to do kind of from the inside almost. And as hopefully, again, another local title holder. Honestly, it took me 6 years to win my first title. So who knows? We'll do it one more time. But, if there's any positive change that I want to see, and if I want to make it an organization that other girls can possibly get even a fraction of what I got out of it, then I still think it's really my responsibility to see it through for my last year and to make those changes from the inside out. And so it definitely is a struggle. I'm not sure where Miss America is headed in any given day, but that's where my heart lies, is still kind of feeling that call to action to continue making the Miss America organization and my job as a local title holder, and hopefully state and national and so forth, to make it what other girls can still kind of aspire to be, and to be that agent of change. So that's what's still fueling me for my last year in year 8.
Oh my gosh. And I commend you so hard for that. And, I've thought about it so many times of whether or not I'm going to continue, but, I feel that I've been fulfilled and everything is great, and I'm continuing GEMS, but I'm just so excited for you to continue like chasing this amazing dream of becoming a state title holder and becoming Miss America and having the hugest, I don't even know if that's a word, the biggest platform ever as Miss America. So I just want to, thank you so much for coming on. I'm just so glad that you could join.
Thank you for thinking I'm cool enough to be on. Because I'm still not overly convinced. But thank you for having me, Jess. I love it. Thank you.
Well, of course. Okay, so we are going to take another quick break, and Maddie and I will be back to wrap up with our finishing stuff.
Let me take a selfie.
A huge thank you to Susan for joining us for a quick interview. But we want to wrap this up. So let's get rolling with our Would You Rather Crowned and Dangerous edition, of course. So this week's question will also be posted on Facebook, so you can weigh in on our Facebook page. But the question this week is, would you rather be cast in Drop Dead Gorgeous or Miss Congeniality, which are two very popular pageant-themed movies? Maddie, do you have thoughts?
Honestly, I need to rewatch both of them. But I don't know. Ask me again after I rewatch them.
Okay.
I think Miss Congeniality is, I feel like that one's a lot more quotable. Like, a lot of people know that one more.
Yes.
But Drop Dead Gorgeous is also a classic. What do you think?
So funny. I would rather be cast in Miss Congeniality because Gracie, which is the main character in Miss Congeniality, she's just a badass because she works for the FBI and she ends up like entering this pageant undercover, which I think is so funny. So she's like brand new to pageants and she is completely transformed through that experience. So I just think she's so cool, and she's not your typical like cookie cutter pageant patty. So I would love to be cast in Miss Congeniality as Gracie. I think it'd be so fun.
Love that.
Yep. But yeah, definitely weigh in on your thoughts on our Facebook page for that one.
All right. Crown cringe time.
Yes, my favorite.
Our crown cringes go hand in hand.
Okay.
Mine was at State my second year. You probably remember this, Jess, because you were there with me. I don't know if you were with me when it happened, but that's when the guy came up and he slapped my butt and then ran away.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing autographs, and this really creepy guy came up, and I was actually talking to my mom and my sister. And he came up and he grabbed my butt and ran away. And it was actually really terrifying at the time. I remember the security chasing after him. We didn't know if we had to do a police report or not. I remember I sat on the bus by myself and was just so shaken up. So at the time, it was really, really sad, and I was actually really scared. But now I look back on it, and I just think, what a total weirdo.
Seriously.
Not trying to discredit anyone else's experiences with that stuff, and I never think you should laugh that stuff off.
Right.
But that was just a major cringe moment because people, I don't think, really realize that stuff really does happen. And Jess, even with your crown cringe that's coming up, you kind of know how that goes too. Why don't you share yours really quick?
For sure. Yeah, and mine is fairly similar. I feel like at a lot of appearances, and we've talked about this before. I mean, in a past crown cringe, I had another old man say really weird things to me. But this one was when I had my first title in 2016, and I was at a festival kind of thing, just kind of signing autographs and playing games and stuff with kids. And there was a man who came up to me. It was fairly late at night. This was like an appearance that was like in the evening, so it was like dark and kind of creepy. But this guy came up to me and he was asking me for an autograph, so I did. And then he wanted to take a picture with me, and then he came back later, fairly intoxicated, and he asked me for another autograph, and he actually asked me for my phone number then, and my Snapchat, and like all my contact information, which was very strange. And I was just like cringing the whole time because I'm like, dude, you need to step off because like my job isn't there. I'm not supposed to be there just to like stand there and take people's like verbal
boundary.
Yeah. He was just like crossing this weird boundary, and that made me cringe. And I had to tell him that I had to go or whatever. And it was just really, really awkward. So if you're ever in situations like that, don't be afraid to, say how you feel, stand up for yourself, or get assistance from someone else who's there, because better safe than sorry.
That crown cringe was kind of sad and deep in a way.
I know. I don't know.
We're being serious. Yeah, today is a serious tone.
It is a serious tone.
But now it's time for tips and tricks.
Yeah.
So
one tip
first, Jess. What's your quick tip?
One tip today from Pageant Ponies. My tip is And I think we've learned this from interviewing Susan, is that originality will take you further than trying to follow someone else's path. And I think that so many people, especially, competing in pageants, you have this idea that you have to fit this mold and you have to be perfect at everything. And there's just one certain type that always wins or something. But I think being original and, doing your own thing and creating your own platform, or doing something very different, will take you even further, and it will make you admirable. And I think that'll be beneficial in your pageant career and in the future as well. So that's my tip.
That's a good tip. I'm trying to think. I know I think on our first episode, I talked about being authentic.
Yep.
I'm trying to, I don't know. That's the one I usually go by. Otherwise,
It's hard to think of these.
Oh, I would say don't be afraid to journal how you feel and your thoughts. Yes. I did that a lot during with my most recent title. And I also say give yourself some credit, just because a lot of people don't understand how taxing it really is to compete in pageants. And, even appearances, maybe you're having a really, really bad day, and you still have to go and put a smile on your face and do these events that people booked you for or whatever.
For sure.
I know I personally had days where I just, something has gone wrong, or the worst times to do events. And I remember having weekend trips with my title, and I just I just had something really annoying happen that week, and you just kind of have to put it aside and remember what you're there for. And it's not always sunshine and rainbows and winning titles,
Right. It's not a cakewalk all the time. It's emotionally and physically and mentally draining sometimes, always
Self-care.
Having to put a smile on. Yep. So take care of yourself. And I think journaling is so beneficial regardless of what you're doing. Self-care. Self-care is important.
But again, thank you to Susan for guesting on our podcast. We loved having you.
Yes.
And thanks for listening to our other segments. Be sure to follow Public House Media, Crown and Dangerous on Instagram, like us on Facebook, subscribe, rate, and review the show wherever you're listening.
Please.
Like Jess says, to, comment on our Facebook or Instagram, send us DMs.
We love that.
We do. We will be back in 2 weeks on October 18th for a new episode. And this has been Maddie and Jess, reminding you to always wear your invisible crown, keep it real, and if you do not know what to say, world peace.